Hi, welcome to Board Game Casual Design Diaries, a series that focuses on game design, content for aspiring board game designers, and things I'm working on as a designer myself. In today's episode, I'm sharing a bit of a thought exercise. I was recently visiting with some friends who have a 3-year-old daughter, and while we were all hanging out, she requested that we play Candyland with her. I know, Candyland isn't much of a game, but hey, I'll never turn down playing a board game. And it's funny, I actually thought I'd played Candyland before, but I clearly hadn't. I must have confused it with another kid's game like Chutes and Ladders or something. Real quick, for anyone else who's not familiar, the Candyland game board has what's essentially a single path made up of different color spaces. On your turn, you'll flip over a card from the deck, which will show you a colored space that you get to move to. For example, a red square means you get to move to the next red space. Some cards have 2 colored squares on them, like 2 blues, and you get to jump 2 blue spaces on the path. And there are some special unique spaces that when drawn might move you forwards or backwards on the path depending on where you are currently. The first to get to the castle at the top of the path is the winner. Candyland isn't so much a game you play as it is something you just watch unfold. You're really just along for the ride in this one. So of course, as we're playing, the gamer in me starts thinking out loud to my non-gamer friends, how could we modify things to make this more of an actual game? Make it more interesting, more fun. And in my head, I laid out the thought exercise with some very specific restrictions. How would you turn Candyland into a more strategic game while using the same exact components, no changes to the board, no adding in dice or additional cards, and yet keep the rules simple enough that a 3-year-old could understand how to play? Real quick, I'd like to thank FELTECTORS for sponsoring this video. I'm really excited to have them on board as a sponsor because I'm a huge fan of the game mat I bought a while back on Amazon. You probably see it on the table in most of my game videos and reviews. FELTECTORS makes awesome, affordable neoprene game mats, poker mats, felt table toppers, and more. They offer an array of sizes and colors, making it easy to pick the perfect game mat for your table. And trust me, nothing elevates the gaming experience more than having a nice surface to game on. FELTECTORS products are available on Amazon, or check out all they have to offer at FELTECTORS.com, where you can save $5 off of any order with coupon code OFF5 BoardGameCasual. Okay, back to the video. I came up with 2 simple changes. The first thing I think the game desperately needs is player agency. As a player, you want to make some sort of decisions. So instead of a player just flipping over a card to move on their turn, each player starts by getting dealt a hand of 3 cards. And on your turn, you're going to choose which card you want to play and move accordingly. Then draw a new card secretly into your hand. So with this, we've created a method for players to make choices. But now we need to build in a reason why a player would want to play one card over the other or play cards sooner than later. And so the other change I made is that the castle at the top of the board is no longer the finish line. Instead, as soon as the first player reaches the castle, that means everyone changes directions, no matter where they are on the board. And the goal is now to be the first person to cross the starting line at the bottom of the board. The idea here is that you need to be careful about the cards you're playing during the first half of the game. You might not necessarily want to race out ahead and be the first one to reach the castle because those players further down the board will be at an advantage once the direction flips, since they'll be a lot closer to the starting line. In reality, you probably want to go as slow as possible in the beginning and have someone else be the one to reach the castle and trigger the direction flip. You also need to be careful about when to use those special candy space cards because these could really help or hurt you depending on when that direction flip occurs. Having a hand of cards means you can strategize a bit in which cards you're going to be hanging on to for that final sprint, but with a hand limit of only 3, you won't be able to bank everything, and in each turn you're going to have to be forced to play at least one of them. These 2 changes alone are simple and make the game much more of a game. It's more playable and hopefully introduces kids to a little bit of strategic thinking. Now, of course, as the afternoon went on, I continued to think about even more rules you could add within those same restrictions of using the same components, board, and keeping it kid-friendly. Maybe everyone should have to reveal the card they've chosen simultaneously and then resolve in turn order. This way you can't play a card based on what you see someone else do. Maybe the person who reaches the castle first immediately gets to take another turn. So now, depending on your cards, maybe you want to jump ahead and be the one to trigger that castle, as opposed to hanging back. Maybe if someone lands on one of those special candy spaces, everyone has to pass their hand to the left, just adding in some randomization. I think if I were to add one more rule to my previous two, however, it would be this. Perhaps when you play a card on your turn, you can choose whether you want to move yourself or move another player instead. This way, in the first half of the game, for example, I have to decide whether I want to try and hang on to my more powerful cards for myself for the second half after the direction turn, or whether I want to use them now to move another player closer to the castle while I hang back, trying to remain as close to the starting line as possible, giving me an advantage spot once that direction flip comes. Little thought exercises like these are great ways to keep your mind sharp as a designer, even if I have no intention of publishing a new rule set and going back to Candyland with repeated plays. It's just a great way to get the brain firing and, who knows, maybe even spark an idea for a game I'm actually working on. I also think it's really good to set restrictions and boundaries for these exercises, like only using the game pieces in front of you. For my case, this came naturally as a product of the environment. I was literally in the middle of the game at my friend's house on their living room floor, sitting with them and their daughter. It's not like I could start drafting up some new prototype cards or marking up their game board. I think working within boundaries forces you to think creatively as well as cleverly, and it helps get you to something tangible faster, rather than just a list of endless ideas where there's no limit to what you can do. It also helps you think about who the game is for and how easily I can teach my idea to someone else. So if you're looking for a good thought exercise, maybe give this one a try yourself. How would you redesign Candyland and make it more strategic, but using the stock game board and the same set of components that's fun for children and adults alike? I'd love to hear about your designs down in the comments. And if Constant Chaos Games is watching, I bet he could take it a step further and even make an interesting solo game out of it. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. Maybe give it a thumbs up if you did. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And I'll see you next time, here on Board Game Casual.